Imagine waking up one morning and checking your phone. The news headline makes you freeze. Elon Musk is the President of the United States. Not just a businessman, not just the richest person on Earth, but the actual president sitting in the White House making decisions that affect every single American and billions of people around the world. Sounds impossible, right? Maybe even crazy. But what if it actually happened? What if the man who built electric cars, launched rockets into space, and bought one of the biggest social media companies decided he wanted to run the most powerful country on the planet? This is not about whether you like Elon Musk or not. This is not about politics in the normal way we think about it. This is about asking a simple question that leads to 1,000 more questions. What would really happen if someone like him became president? Would America become richer and more advanced? Would it fall apart? Would the world change forever? Elon Musk is not like other politicians. He does not give boring speeches or shake hands at fundraisers all day. He tweets whatever he thinks. He builds companies that people said were impossible. He fights with reporters and talks about living on Mars, while most politicians worry about the next election. Right now, Elon Musk cannot become president under current rules. He was born in South Africa, and the United States Constitution says you must be born in America to be president. But in our story, let us imagine the rules changed. Maybe there was a new amendment to the Constitution. Maybe Americans voted to allow anyone who has been a citizen for many years to run for president. The point is, we are exploring what could happen if it became possible. Why does this question matter? Because Elon Musk represents something new in the world. He is not part of the old system. He does not rise through political parties or work his way up through government offices. He is a businessman, an engineer, and someone who thinks about humanity's future in space. He has fans who think he is a genius saving the world. He has critics who think he is dangerous and cares only about himself. If someone like him became president, everything we know about American politics would change. The way decisions are made, the way laws are passed, the way America talks to other countries, all of it would be different. Some changes might be amazing. Some might be disasters. Most would probably be complicated and messy, just like real life. In this video, we are going to walk through the entire journey. We will start at the beginning and ask how someone like Elon Musk could even become president in the first place. What would need to happen? How would he campaign? Would people vote for him? Then we will look at what he would do once he actually got into office. What would his first 100 days look like? What would he change immediately? After that, we will explore what life would be like for normal Americans. Would your job be different? Would your city change? Would you have more freedom or less? Then we will zoom out and look at the whole world. How would other countries react? Would there be new wars or new peace? Would the global economy crash or boom? Finally, we will look far into the future and ask what people would remember. Would history see President Elon Musk as a hero or a villain? Would America be stronger or weaker? And what lessons would the world learn from this strange, wild experiment? This is going to be a long journey, but it will be worth it. By the end, you will understand not just what might happen if Elon Musk became president, but also how power really works, how countries make big decisions, and how one person can change the world for better or worse. So buckle up, get comfortable, and let us dive into one of the most interesting what-if questions of our time. What if Elon Musk became president of the United States? Let us find out together. Act 1. How he gets power. The year is 2028. America is tired. That is the simplest way to describe the mood of the country. People are exhausted from the same old politicians making the same old promises. The economy feels stuck. Technology is changing everything, but the government seems to move at the speed of a turtle. Young people cannot afford houses. Everyone argues about everything on social media. Trust in Washington is at an all-time low. Into this tired, frustrated country steps Elon Musk with an announcement that shocks everyone. He is running for President of the United States. But wait, how is this even possible? The Constitution has a clear rule. You must be a natural-born citizen to become president. Elon Musk was born in Pretoria, South Africa in 1971. He moved to Canada when he was 17, then to the United States when he was in his early 20s. He became an American citizen in 2002. Under the old rules, he could never be president. But remember, this is our what-if story. Something changed. In 2026, after years of debate, Congress passed and the states ratified the 28th Amendment to the Constitution. The new amendment says that anyone who has been an American citizen for at least 25 years can run for president. The argument was simple. America is a nation of immigrants. Why should someone who has lived here for decades, paid taxes, built businesses, and contributed to society be blocked from the highest office just because of where they were born? The amendment barely passed. It needed approval from 2/3 of Congress and 3/4 of the states. Many people opposed it. They said it would open the door to foreign influence. Others said it was un-American to change such a fundamental rule. But supporters argued that America needed fresh blood and new perspectives. In the end, it passed by the thinnest of margins. Now in 2028, Elon Musk is the first person to take advantage of this new rule. He has been a citizen since 2002. That is 26 years. He qualifies perfectly. His announcement comes not in a traditional way. No big rally in Iowa, no press conference in a hotel ballroom. Instead, he tweets it. Just a simple message. Running for president. Time to upgrade America's operating system. Let's build the future. The internet explodes. Within minutes, his announcement is trending worldwide. News channels scramble to cover it. Political experts appear on television looking confused. No one saw this coming. Sure, there were rumors. Elon had been more political in recent years. He criticized both Democrats and Republicans. He talked about government waste and bureaucracy. But actually running? Most people thought he was too busy with his companies. Elon Musk announces he will run as an independent. He says both political parties are broken. Democrats are too focused on identity politics and regulations. Republicans are stuck in the past and do not understand technology. America needs someone who can think differently and solve problems like an engineer, not like a politician. His campaign is unlike anything America has ever seen. Traditional candidates spend millions on television ads. They hire hundreds of staff members. They travel from state to state, giving the same speech over and over. Elon does almost none of this. Instead, he uses social media. He owns X, formerly known as Twitter. He has over 200 million followers. Every day he posts his ideas directly to the people. No filter, no handlers. Just him typing on his phone at midnight with ideas about how to fix America. His main campaign promises are bold. He says he will cut the federal budget by 30% by eliminating waste and using artificial intelligence to make government efficient. He promises to make America energy independent within 4 years using solar power and nuclear energy. He says he will fix infrastructure by building high-speed rail and modernizing airports. He wants to eliminate income tax for anyone making under $100,000 per year and replace it with a consumption tax. He promises to make internet access free for every American by launching more Starlink satellites. Most politicians would never make such extreme promises. They know the system moves slowly. They know compromise is necessary. But Elon is not most politicians. He built a company that makes electric cars when everyone said it was impossible. He started a rocket company that now dominates space travel. He thinks big and moves fast. His supporters love this about him. And he has a lot of supporters. Young people especially are excited. They see someone who understands technology and the future. They are tired of politicians in their 70s and 80s who can barely use a smartphone. Engineers and entrepreneurs love him. They see one of their own finally running for office. Many immigrants support him because he represents the American dream. He came to this country with almost nothing and built multiple billion-dollar companies. But he also has many enemies. The Democratic Party is furious. They say he is a billionaire who will only help other rich people. They point out that his companies have been accused of treating workers poorly. They say he spreads misinformation on social media and cannot be trusted with nuclear codes. They call him unstable and dangerous. The Republican Party is split. Some conservatives like his talk about cutting government and reducing regulations. Others hate that he supports some liberal ideas like clean energy and does not talk much about traditional values. Many establishment Republicans think he is a joke and will split their vote. The media coverage is constant and intense. Every tweet he sends becomes a news story. When he says something controversial, which happens often, cable news talks about it for days. He calls politicians corrupt. He insults reporters who criticize him. He makes jokes that some people find funny and others find offensive. His campaign rallies are more like tech conferences. He shows videos of rockets landing and self-driving cars. He talks about Mars colonies and artificial intelligence. Traditional political consultants shake their heads. They say he is doing everything wrong. You cannot insult voters. You cannot skip important states. You cannot refuse to do normal interviews. But Elon does not care about their rules. He says the old playbook is outdated. As the campaign progresses, something interesting happens. The polls start shifting. At first, political experts give him no chance. They say he will get maybe 5 or 10% of the vote and fade away. But his numbers keep climbing. By the spring of 2028, he is polling at 20%. By summer, 30%. The two major party candidates are weak. The Democratic nominee is a career politician who has been in Washington for 30 years. She is smart and experienced, but also boring and out of touch. The Republican nominee is a former governor who keeps changing his positions to please different groups. Neither one excites people. Elon, on the other hand, is exciting. Love him or hate him, people cannot stop talking about him. His rallies fill stadiums. His online videos get hundreds of millions of views. He goes on popular podcasts and talks for 3 hours about his vision for America. Young people who never cared about politics start paying attention. He makes some smart moves that help his campaign. He chooses a running mate who balances him out. She is a former military general who is respected by both parties. She is calm where he is chaotic. She understands government where he understands business. This makes moderate voters more comfortable. He also releases detailed plans for his policies. Critics said he was all talk and no substance. So his team publishes hundreds of pages of policy papers written by experts from universities and think tanks. They show exactly how his ideas could work. This does not mean everyone agrees with the ideas, but it shows he is serious. The debates are memorable. In the first presidential debate, Elon shows up wearing a black t-shirt instead of a suit. The moderator asks him about government experience. He says experience in the current broken system is not a benefit, it is a liability. When the Democratic candidate talks about her 30 years in government, he responds that she had 30 years to fix things, and they only got worse. When the Republican candidate talks about traditional values, Elon says the most important value is building a better future for our children. He gets in trouble several times during the campaign. Old tweets resurface where he said controversial things. Former employees come forward with complaints. He loses his temper at a rally and says something offensive that he has to apologize for later. News channels predict these mistakes will end his campaign, but his supporters do not care. They see him as authentic and honest, even when he messes up. The final months of the campaign become a three-way race: the Democrat, the Republican, and the Independent. America has not seen anything like this since Ross Perot in 1992. But even that was not this competitive. Elon is actually winning in some polls. His closing argument is simple. America became great by taking risks and trying new things. We went to the moon. We invented the internet. We built the most dynamic economy in history. But now we are stuck. Our infrastructure is crumbling. Our education system is outdated. Our government is slow and wasteful. We need to think different. We need to move fast and build things. We need to stop talking and start doing. On election night in November 2028, America stays up late watching the results. It is close. Very close. The Electoral College math is complicated with 3 candidates splitting states. Some states are decided by only thousands of votes. News anchors are careful not to call the race too early. Finally, in the early morning hours, the networks make their projections. Elon Musk wins the key swing states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, Arizona, and Nevada. He loses the popular vote by a small margin, but wins the Electoral College with 285 votes. America has elected its first president who was not born in the country. Its first president who never held political office. Its first president who is a tech billionaire. The reaction is mixed. In cities with lots of young people and tech workers, there are celebrations in the streets. People are excited for change. In other parts of the country, there is shock and fear. Many people cannot believe what just happened. World leaders send careful congratulations, not sure what to expect. Elon Musk tweets a simple message. "Thank you, America. Now let's get to work." The transition period between the election and inauguration is chaotic. Elon refuses to follow normal protocols. He keeps running his companies while preparing to be president. He gives interviews where he criticizes current government policies, even though he is not president yet. He announces cabinet picks that surprise everyone, mixing business executives, scientists, former military leaders, and even some people from the other political parties. On January 20th, 2029, Elon Musk places his hand on a Bible and takes the oath of office. He becomes the 48th President of the United States. His inauguration speech is short. He talks about making government work like a successful company. He talks about reaching for the stars, literally and figuratively. He promises to move fast, break things that are broken, and build new systems that actually work. As he finishes his speech and walks into the White House for the first time as president, the world watches and wonders. What happens next? What will this unconventional, unpredictable, ambitious man do with the most powerful position on Earth? The experiment has begun. President Elon Musk is in charge. And nothing will ever be the same. Act 2. The first changes. The first 100 days of any presidency sets the tone for everything that follows. Traditionally, new presidents move carefully. They meet with advisors. They study issues. They try to build relationships with Congress. They follow the rhythms and rituals of Washington that have existed for decades. President Elon Musk does none of this. On his first full day in office, he arrives at the Oval Office at 6 in the morning, wearing jeans and a SpaceX hoodie. The Secret Service agents are not sure what to make of it. By 7, he has already sent 15 tweets about his plans. By 8, he is in the Situation Room, demanding to know why the government still uses technology from the 1990s. By 9, he has fired 3 mid-level bureaucrats he decides are unnecessary. His chief of staff, a former Tesla executive named Sarah Chen, tries to explain that firing federal employees is not that simple. There are rules, there are processes, there are unions. Elon listens for about 30 seconds and then says rules that do not make sense need to change. He asks her to have new rules written by the end of the week. This is how his entire first week goes. He moves like a tornado through the federal government, asking questions that make career officials uncomfortable. Why does it take 5 years to approve a new highway project? Why are there 12 different agencies that all do similar things? Why does the Pentagon pay $800 for a hammer? Why do government websites look terrible and barely work? His first major action comes on day 3. He signs an executive order creating the Department of Government Efficiency. He puts 2 people in charge, a former Google executive and a retired admiral known for cutting waste in the military. Their job is simple. Look at every single government program and ask if it is necessary, if it is effective, and if it could be done better with modern technology. They have 6 months to report back with recommendations. The reaction to this is immediate and loud. Government employee unions are furious. They say this is an attack on civil servants who work hard for the country. Democratic members of Congress call it reckless and dangerous. They worry about important programs being cut. Republicans are more divided. Some love it and say it is about time someone cleaned house. Others worry about losing services that their constituents depend on. Elon does not seem bothered by the criticism. He tweets that every successful company has to evaluate what works and what does not. Why should government be different? He says taxpayers deserve to know their money is not being wasted. His second major action is about energy. On day 7, he announces the American Energy Independence Plan. The goal is for the United States to produce 100% of its energy from renewable sources and nuclear power within 10 years. He proposes building 50 new nuclear power plants using modern, safer designs. He wants to cover federal buildings with solar panels. He orders the expansion of the electrical grid to handle more renewable energy. He also announces that the federal government will buy only electric vehicles from now on. Environmental groups are cautiously optimistic but skeptical. They like the focus on clean energy but worry about the nuclear plants and whether the timeline is realistic. Oil and gas companies are angry. This plan threatens their business. Workers in coal country are scared about losing their jobs. Elon addresses this in a speech. He says the government will fund retraining programs for energy workers to learn new skills. He says clean energy will create more jobs than it eliminates. He says change is hard but necessary. By the end of the second week, he tackles immigration. This is one of the most controversial issues in America, and Elon has a complicated relationship with it. He is an immigrant himself who benefited from coming to America. But he also says the current system is broken and unfair. His immigration plan has parts that both sides hate, which he says means it is probably fair. He proposes making legal immigration much easier for people with skills in science, technology, engineering, and math. He wants to give automatic green cards to anyone who graduates from an American university with an advanced degree. At the same time, he wants stronger border security using technology like drones and sensors instead of just walls and agents. He also proposes a path to citizenship for people who have been in the country illegally for more than 10 years, have jobs, and have not committed serious crimes. Immigration activists say the plan does not go far enough to help families. Conservative Republicans say any path to citizenship is amnesty, and they will not support it. Elon responds that he is not interested in making everyone happy. He is interested in solving the problem. His approach to Congress is unlike any president before him. Usually, presidents spend lots of time meeting with senators and representatives, negotiating deals, making compromises. Elon thinks this is a waste of time. Instead, he goes directly to the American people. When he wants to pass a law, he explains it in simple terms on social media and asks people to contact their representatives. He names specific members of Congress who are blocking things and asks their constituents to call their offices. This strategy makes members of Congress very angry. They say he is bullying them and disrespecting the legislative branch. But it is also effective. When millions of people start calling and emailing their representatives about an issue, those representatives pay attention. Some of Elon's proposals start moving through Congress faster than anyone expected. Not everything goes smoothly. In week 3, he has his first major crisis. He fires the head of the FBI without consulting anyone. He tweets that the FBI needs new leadership that understands cybersecurity and modern threats. But this causes a constitutional crisis. The FBI director has a 10-year term for a reason: to keep the position independent from politics. Legal experts say the president probably does not have the authority to just fire the director without cause. Lawsuits are filed immediately. The Supreme Court agrees to hear the case on an emergency basis. For 2 weeks, there is chaos. Some FBI agents refuse to work under the new acting director Elon appointed. Democrats talk about impeachment. Republicans who normally support presidential power are nervous because this might set a bad precedent. Eventually, the Supreme Court rules against Elon in a 7-2 decision. They say the president cannot fire the FBI director without showing cause for dismissal. Elon is forced to reinstate the director. He tweets that he disagrees with the decision, but will follow it because he respects the rule of law. Privately, his advisors say he is furious. This is his first real defeat. But he learns from it. He realizes he cannot just ignore laws and institutions, even if he thinks they are outdated. He starts working with his lawyers more carefully before making big moves. He is still aggressive and unconventional, but slightly more strategic. His cabinet meetings are unlike anything Washington has seen. Instead of formal discussions around a big table, he runs them like brainstorming sessions at a tech company. People stand at whiteboards drawing diagrams. They argue and debate. He encourages disagreement and gets frustrated when people just agree with him. He wants the best ideas, not the most polite ones. He makes some appointments that shock people. His Secretary of Education is a 28-year-old entrepreneur who started a successful online learning company. His Secretary of Transportation is a former NASCAR driver who knows a lot about vehicles and infrastructure. His Secretary of Energy is a nuclear physicist who has been advocating for advanced nuclear power for years. His Secretary of State is a former ambassador with decades of foreign policy experience, one of his few traditional choices. By day 50, some patterns are clear. President Musk is not interested in ideology. He does not care if an idea comes from the left or the right. He cares if it works. This confuses traditional political observers who try to label him as liberal or conservative. He is neither and both. He supports transgender rights and says the government should not tell people how to live their personal lives. But he also thinks some diversity training programs are ridiculous and counterproductive. He wants to tackle climate change aggressively, but also thinks nuclear power is essential, and environmentalists who oppose it are wrong. He supports unions in principle, but says some union rules make it impossible to fire bad employees. He wants higher taxes on the super wealthy, but also wants to eliminate most business regulations. This ideological flexibility makes it hard for his opponents to attack him effectively. Democrats cannot call him a right-wing extremist when he supports LGBT rights and climate action. Republicans cannot call him a socialist when he wants to cut regulations and taxes. He is genuinely hard to categorize. His relationship with the media is terrible and getting worse. He has always had a contentious relationship with journalists. As president, it gets even more hostile. He refuses to hold traditional press conferences. Instead, he does long-form interviews with podcasters and YouTubers he likes. He calls newspapers that criticize him legacy media propaganda. He accuses fact-checkers of bias. When a major newspaper publishes a critical investigation about his businesses, he tweets that they are fake news and threatens to change libel laws. Press freedom groups are alarmed. They say the president attacking journalism is dangerous for democracy. Some of his supporters agree and privately urge him to tone it down. But others love it. They have distrusted mainstream media for years and enjoy seeing a president fight back. By day 75, some real results start to emerge. The Department of Government Efficiency releases its first interim report. They found that $14 billion is being spent on programs that no longer serve any purpose, either because the original problem was solved or because the programs simply do not work. They identify 700,000 federal employees whose jobs could be automated with current technology. They recommend consolidating 56 different agencies into 12. The report is both praised and condemned. Government reform advocates say it is exactly what the country needs. Federal employee unions say it is a hit job designed to justify mass layoffs. The truth is probably somewhere in between. Some of the recommendations are genuinely good ideas that could save money and improve services. Others seem hastily researched and would probably cause more problems than they solve. Elon seizes on the report. He announces that over the next year, the federal government will implement the recommendations. He promises that no employee will be fired without being offered retraining or another position. He says the goal is not to hurt workers, but to make government work better for citizens. By day 100, President Musk gives his first State of the Union address to Congress. The speech is shorter than usual, only 30 minutes instead of the typical hour plus. He wears a suit this time, a concession to tradition his staff begged him to make. In the speech, he lays out his vision. He says America is at a crossroads. We can keep doing things the old way and slowly decline, or we can embrace change, take risks, and build the future we want. He talks about his plans for energy, infrastructure, education, and technology. He announces a new national goal: landing Americans on Mars by 2035. He says this will inspire the country the way the moon landing did in the 1960s. He says it will drive innovation in countless industries. The reaction to the speech is mixed. His supporters love it and say he is bringing optimism back into America. His critics say he is making unrealistic promises and ignoring real problems like healthcare and poverty. Congressional Democrats sit mostly silent during the speech. Republicans give polite applause, but not standing ovations. The independent and moderate members seem genuinely interested. As the first 100 days come to an end, America is divided about its new president. Polls show his approval rating at 48%. Not great, but not terrible for someone so controversial. 40% strongly disapprove. The remaining 12% are not sure what to think. What is clear is that everything has changed. The pace of government is faster. The tone is different. The old rules and norms are being questioned. Some people find this exciting and refreshing. Others find it scary and reckless. In living rooms and coffee shops across America, people argue about President Musk. Is he a visionary who will save the country? Or a dangerous amateur who will break things that cannot be fixed? Is he making America innovative again? Or is he turning the presidency into a circus? Nobody knows for sure. But everyone agrees on one thing: the next few years are going to be very interesting. President Elon Musk has made his first moves. Now it is time to see what happens when his plans meet reality. When the initial excitement fades and the hard work of governing truly begins. When other countries start responding to his changes. When the American people see whether his promises become reality or just more broken political dreams. The first 100 days are over. The real test is just beginning. Act 3: Inside the country. 6 months into the Musk presidency, and life in America is changing in ways both big and small. Some changes are obvious and dramatic. Others are subtle but important. For ordinary Americans going about their daily lives, the question is simple: is life getting better or worse? The answer depends on who you ask and where they live. Start with jobs and the economy. President Musk promised to make America more innovative and create millions of new jobs in technology and clean energy. In some ways, this is happening. Tesla and other electric vehicle companies are building new factories across the country. Solar panel installation is booming because of new federal incentives. Companies working on artificial intelligence and robotics are hiring rapidly. In Austin, Texas, a 26-year-old software engineer named Marcus just got a job at a new battery factory. The pay is good, $75,000 a year with benefits. He had been working at a restaurant before this. He took a free government training program that taught him technical skills. He is thrilled. This job changed his life. He can now afford his own apartment and is saving money for the first time ever. But in Charleston, West Virginia, the story is different. Robert is 52 years old and worked in a coal mine for 28 years. His mine closed last month as part of the shift away from fossil fuels. He was offered a spot in a retraining program to learn solar panel installation. But the nearest program is 3 hours away, and he cannot afford to move. His wife works at the local school, and they have aging parents in the area. The promised new jobs have not arrived in his town yet. He feels forgotten and angry. This is the reality of rapid economic change. Some people benefit greatly, others get left behind. President Musk's administration is aware of this problem, but struggling to solve it fast enough. They created transition assistance programs, but the money and resources cannot reach everyone who needs help. The unemployment rate has actually dropped slightly to 5.2%. The stock market is up 15%, mostly because investors are excited about technology companies. But inflation is also up, reaching 6% as the government spends heavily on infrastructure and energy projects. Groceries cost more, gas prices are volatile, as the energy transition creates uncertainty. For families living paycheck to paycheck, the economic statistics do not matter as much as the fact that everything seems more expensive. Let's talk about infrastructure, one of President Musk's big priorities. Construction has started on 3 high-speed rail lines connecting major cities. One will link Los Angeles to San Francisco. Another will connect Boston to Washington, D.C. The third will run from Chicago to Denver. These projects are creating construction jobs and generating excitement. People imagine traveling at 200 miles per hour on sleek electric trains. But the projects are also causing disruption. In Philadelphia, an entire neighborhood is being torn up to build a new station. Families are being relocated. Small businesses are closing. The government is providing compensation, but many people feel it is not enough. They did not ask for this change. It is being imposed on them. Airports are being renovated with new technology. Facial recognition systems replace boarding passes. Automated systems speed up security. Some travelers love the efficiency. Others worry about privacy and government surveillance. Civil liberties groups have filed lawsuits, arguing that the facial recognition systems violate the constitutional rights. The electric vehicle mandate for federal government is causing practical problems. Post offices in rural areas are struggling because electric mail trucks do not have enough range to cover their routes. There are not enough charging stations in remote parts of the country. The administration is racing to build charging infrastructure, but it takes time. Education is seeing major changes. President Musk thinks the traditional education system is outdated. He believes kids should learn more science, technology, and practical skills. His Secretary of Education has launched a controversial program called Learning 2.0. The program provides tablets to every student in America, loaded with adaptive learning software. The AI-powered system teaches math, science, and reading at each child's individual pace. It is free and available to every public school. The program also emphasizes hands-on projects where kids build things, code programs, and solve real problems. In Miami, a 4th-grade teacher named Jennifer loves the new system. She says her students are more engaged than ever. Kids who were bored in traditional classes are thriving. Kids who struggled are getting the individual attention they need from the AI tutor. Test scores in her class are improving. But in rural Montana, parents are upset. They say their kids are staring at screens all day instead of learning from the human teachers. They worry about technology addiction. They do not trust AI to raise their children. Some schools are refusing to implement the program. This creates a conflict between federal mandates and local control. The program also reveals a harsh truth about inequality. Schools in wealthy areas have excellent internet and new computers. Schools in poor areas have outdated equipment and spotty connections. The digital divide is getting worse even as the government tries to improve education with technology. Teacher unions are furious about another part of the education plan. President Musk wants to change how teachers are evaluated and paid. Instead of paying based on seniority and credentials, he wants to pay based on results. Teachers whose students improve the most would earn more money. Teachers whose students do not improve would earn less or lose their jobs. Union leaders say this is unfair because some teachers work in difficult schools, with students facing poverty, trauma, and other challenges. How can they be compared to teachers in wealthy suburbs? The administration says they will account for these factors, but many teachers do not trust the system. There have been teacher strikes in 12 states. Classrooms are chaotic. Parents are angry on all sides. Healthcare is another battleground. President Musk did not have a detailed healthcare plan during the campaign. He just said the system is broken and expensive and needs to be fixed with technology. Now in office, his approach is emerging. He has not tried to change insurance or create a government healthcare system. Instead, he is focused on using technology to make healthcare cheaper and more efficient. He signed an executive order allowing telemedicine across state lines. Now a doctor in California can treat a patient in Ohio over video chat. This increases access, especially in rural areas without many doctors. He is also pushing hard on AI diagnosis systems. The government is funding research into artificial intelligence that it can analyze medical images, predict diseases, and recommend treatments. Early results are promising. AI can detect some cancers earlier than human doctors. It can predict heart attacks before they happen. But the medical establishment is resisting. The American Medical Association says AI cannot replace human doctors. They worry about liability when AI makes mistakes. They say the doctor-patient relationship is important and cannot be reduced to an algorithm. Some doctors feel threatened and fear their profession is being devalued. For patients, the results are mixed. Sarah in Detroit loves that she can see a specialist in Boston without traveling or waiting months for an appointment. She does it from her living room on her laptop. But Michael in Phoenix went to an AI diagnostic center for stomach pain. The AI said he had an ulcer and gave him medication. 2 weeks later, he was in the emergency room with appendicitis. The AI missed it. He nearly died. Now he does not trust the technology and wants a human doctor. Drug prices are another focus. President Musk is using his executive authority to import cheaper medications from Canada and Europe. The pharmaceutical industry is fighting this in court. They say it is unsafe and will hurt American innovation. The administration says drug companies are price gouging and Americans should not pay 3 times more than people in other countries for the same medicine. For people who rely on expensive medications like insulin, the imports are life-changing. Prices have dropped by 40%, but the pharmaceutical companies are cutting research budgets and laying off scientists. They say if they cannot make profits in America, they cannot afford to develop new drugs. This might help people today, but hurt people in the future who need new treatments for diseases we cannot cure yet. Let's talk about something that affects everyone: the internet. President Musk promised free internet for all Americans using Starlink satellites. By month 8 of his presidency, this promise is partially fulfilled. The government has subsidized Starlink terminals for low-income families. Millions of households in rural areas and poor urban neighborhoods now have high-speed internet for the first time. This is genuinely transformative. Kids in remote Alaska can take online classes from top universities. Farmers in Kansas can use precision agriculture technology. Elderly people in Appalachia can video chat with their grandchildren and access telehealth. This is one of President Musk's clearest successes, and even his critics often admit it is good. But there is a dark side. Because Elon Musk owns Starlink through SpaceX, there are concerns about conflicts of interest. The government is essentially enriching his company with taxpayer money. Critics say this is corruption, even if the result is beneficial. There are also privacy concerns. Some people worry that giving one company control over everyone's internet access gives that company too much power over information. Daily life in cities is changing rapidly. President Musk is pushing hard for autonomous vehicles. He has ordered the Department of Transportation to fast-track approvals for self-driving cars and to establish federal standards instead of letting each state make its own rules. In San Francisco, Phoenix, and Austin, streets now have thousands of self-driving taxis. You open an app, request a ride, and a car with no driver pulls up. It is cheaper than traditional taxis and Uber. Traffic accidents have decreased because AI does not get distracted or drive drunk. Rideshare drivers are losing their jobs, adding to unemployment in those cities. They are protesting and demanding government assistance. The administration offers retraining programs, but many drivers are middle-aged and struggling to learn new skills. Urban planning is changing. President Musk wants to reduce traffic by building tunnels under major cities. The Boring Company, which he founded, is digging tunnels in 6 cities with federal contracts. In Las Vegas, a tunnel system with electric vehicles is operating. It moves people around faster than the streets above. In Los Angeles, a massive tunnel project is underway, but has hit problems. A tunnel collapsed during construction, killing 2 workers. There are investigations into whether safety procedures were ignored to move faster. Crime and policing is a sensitive issue. President Musk supports police having better technology. He has funded programs to give police departments drones, body cameras with AI analysis, and databases that use facial recognition. His argument is that technology can make policing more effective and more accountable. Officers cannot turn off their body cameras, and the AI flags suspicious behavior by officers as well as suspects. Civil liberties groups are sounding alarms. They say this is a surveillance state. They point out that facial recognition has racial bias and identifies Black and Latino people incorrectly more often than white people. They say police should not have access to AI that tracks everyone's movements. Protests have erupted in New York, Chicago, and Atlanta. Some protesters clash with police. Several people are arrested. In conservative areas, there is different concern. Some sheriffs refuse to use the federal technology systems. They say it is government overreach, and they do not trust Washington having access to local law enforcement data. President Musk responds that they will not get federal funding then. This creates tension between federal and local authorities. The environment and climate are showing small signs of change. Air quality is improving in major cities as more electric vehicles replace gas cars. Solar panels are visible on buildings everywhere. But climate activists say the changes are not happening fast enough. The planet is still warming. Extreme weather events are still increasing. They want faster action on carbon emissions. Meanwhile, in oil-producing states like Texas, Oklahoma, and North Dakota, workers are anxious. The industry is shrinking as the country transitions to clean energy. Towns built around oil are facing economic collapse. People who spent their whole careers in oil and gas feel betrayed. They say elites in Silicon Valley and Washington are destroying their way of life, and they do not have alternatives. Religious communities have mixed reactions to President Musk. He rarely talks about faith or religion. He does not attend church services. He tweets about science and technology, not prayer and scripture. Some religious conservatives are uncomfortable with a president who seems indifferent to faith, but others appreciate that he does not push any religious agenda. He says people should believe what they want and the government should not be involved. He defended religious freedom when some states tried to restrict it. Jewish, Muslim, and Hindu communities generally view him more favorably than conservative Christians do. Family life is being affected in subtle ways. Kids spend more time on screens with the new education system. Parents worry about this, but also appreciate that their kids seem to be learning more. The faster pace of change makes people anxious. Every month seems to bring new technology, new rules, new disruptions. Some people find this exciting. Others find it exhausting and overwhelming. Mental health is a growing concern. Therapists report that more patients are feeling stressed about the rapid changes in society. People feel left behind. They feel like they cannot keep up. Suicide rates tick up slightly, especially among middle-aged men in declining industries. President Musk announces a mental health initiative using AI therapy apps. But mental health professionals say apps cannot replace human connection. Social division is perhaps the biggest problem. America is split into those who love President Musk and those who hate him. Families argue at dinner tables. Friendships end over political disagreements. Social media is more toxic than ever. Each side thinks the other is destroying the country. His supporters see a man fighting the broken system and trying to build something better. They see someone willing to make hard choices and disrupt old ways that do not work. They believe in his vision, even when execution is messy. His opponents see a reckless billionaire with too much power and too little wisdom. They see someone who breaks things without understanding what he is breaking. They worry he is destroying institutions and norms that hold society together. 1 year into his presidency, President Musk's approval rating sits at 44%. Not good, but not terrible. The country is not united behind him, but neither is it completely rejecting him. People are waiting to see what happens next. Waiting to see if the promises turn into lasting improvements or just temporary chaos. Life in America under President Musk is faster, more technological, and more uncertain. Some people are thriving in this new environment. Others are struggling to adapt. The country is being transformed, whether people want it or not. The question everyone is asking is whether this transformation will ultimately make America stronger or tear it apart. The answer is still unclear. The experiment continues, and every American is living through it, for better or worse. Act 4. The world reacts. When Elon Musk became president of the United States, the entire world paid attention. America is not just another country. It is the world's largest economy. It has the most powerful military. The dollar is the global reserve currency. When America changes direction, the whole world feels it. In the first weeks after President Musk's inauguration, foreign leaders sent the usual polite congratulations. But behind closed doors, they were nervous. Nobody knew what to expect from this unconventional president who tweeted at midnight and ignored diplomatic protocol. The first test comes quickly. President Musk needs to attend a G7 summit in France just 2 months into his presidency. The G7 is a meeting of the leaders of the world's major democracies: the United States, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the United Kingdom. These summits usually follow careful scripts. Leaders give prepared statements. They negotiate agreements in advance. Everything is formal and predictable. President Musk does not do formal and predictable. He arrives in Paris wearing a dark suit, a concession to his staff who begged him not to wear a t-shirt to meet world leaders. But he still looks uncomfortable, pulling at his tie during the welcome ceremony. The French president greets him warmly, but with obvious caution. The German chancellor shakes his hand and speaks carefully. The British Prime Minister tries to establish rapport, by mentioning that they both disrupt traditional institutions. The first working session is about climate change. This should be President Musk's strength. He has done more to promote electric vehicles than anyone on Earth. But the meeting goes badly. The European leaders want America to commit to specific carbon reduction targets and provide funding to help developing countries transition away from fossil fuels. President Musk says the targets are arbitrary and the funding is wasted money. He argues that the solution to climate change is technology, not agreements. He says if they want to help the planet, they should deregulate nuclear power and invest in innovation. He accuses European countries of virtue, signaling while buying oil from dictatorships. The room gets tense. The French president reminds him that international cooperation is necessary. President Musk responds that cooperation means working together on solutions, not signing papers that nobody follows. He points out that America is actually reducing emissions faster than most European countries because of electric vehicles and solar power. The meeting ends awkwardly. The joint statement is weaker than European leaders hoped. News coverage says President Musk was combative and difficult. His supporters say he stood up for American interests and refused to play political games. His critics say he damaged important alliances. The relationship with China becomes complicated very quickly. China is America's biggest rival and most important economic partner at the same time. President Musk has a personal history with China. Tesla has a major factory in Shanghai. SpaceX wants to do business there, but as president, he cannot just think about his companies. 3 months into his presidency, China makes a move. They announce plans to impose new restrictions on American tech companies operating in China. They claim it is for national security. Really, it is a test to see how President Musk will respond. His advisors give him different recommendations. The Secretary of State says to negotiate quietly and avoid escalation. The Secretary of Defense says to respond firmly and show strength. The Secretary of Commerce says American companies need access to Chinese markets. President Musk makes a decision that surprises everyone. He calls the Chinese president directly, not through diplomatic channels, not with careful preparation. He just picks up the phone and calls him. They talk for an hour. Nobody knows exactly what was said because President Musk did not have the usual staff listening and taking notes. After the call, he tweets that he had a good conversation and they found areas of agreement. China announces they will delay the new restrictions. American business leaders are relieved, but the State Department is furious that he ignored proper diplomatic process. Foreign policy experts worry about what promises he might have made. Over the next months, a pattern emerges. President Musk treats world leaders like business partners. He makes deals. He negotiates directly. He ignores traditional diplomatic procedures. Sometimes this works. Sometimes it creates problems. With Mexico and Canada, relations are actually improving. President Musk wants stronger economic integration of North America. He proposes making it easier to trade and work across borders. He wants high-speed rail connecting major cities in all 3 countries. He wants a unified approach to immigration where all 3 countries coordinate instead of competing. The Mexican president is cautiously interested. Mexico could benefit economically from closer ties. The Canadian Prime Minister is more hesitant. Canada has always worried about being dominated by its larger neighbor. But President Musk's approach is more respectful than previous American presidents. He treats them as equal partners, not junior members. Europe is more difficult. European leaders are used to America being a reliable ally that follows the rules. President Musk questions everything. He asks why American taxpayers should pay to defend Europe when European countries do not spend enough on their own defense. He suggests that NATO is outdated and needs to be completely restructured. This causes panic. NATO has kept peace in Europe for 75 years. The idea of changing it fundamentally is scary. Eastern European countries especially are worried. They depend on NATO to protect them from Russia. If America becomes unreliable, they are vulnerable. President Musk insists he is not abandoning allies. He just wants the relationship to be more fair. He proposes that NATO countries must spend at least 3% of their GDP on defense, or America will reduce its contribution. He argues that Europe is rich enough to defend itself, and America should not subsidize them forever. Some European countries increase their defense spending. Others resist and say America is betraying its commitments. The alliance is strained but not broken. It is changing in ways that make everyone uncomfortable. Russia is watching all of this carefully. President Putin is one of the most strategic leaders in the world. He sees opportunity in President Musk's unconventional approach. 6 months into the Musk presidency, Russia makes a provocative move. They send military aircraft close to Alaska, testing American responses. President Musk responds quickly and aggressively. He orders American fighter jets to intercept. He tweets that Russia should not mistake his focus on peace for weakness. He says America will defend its territory without hesitation. The Russian aircraft turn back. Putin gets the message that President Musk may be unconventional, but he is not weak. Later, President Musk does something that shocks the foreign policy establishment. He invites President Putin to meet at a neutral location. They meet in Iceland for a one-on-one conversation with only translators present. No staff, no note-takers, just two leaders talking. After the meeting, President Musk says they had a frank discussion about areas of disagreement and potential cooperation. He says they will never be friends, but they need to avoid nuclear war. He says talking is better than threatening. Critics explode with anger. They say he is naive and Putin played him. They worry about what deals were made in private. Supporters say this is exactly the kind of bold diplomacy America needs. The Middle East tests President Musk in ways he did not expect. He is not deeply knowledgeable about the complex history and politics of the region. His instinct is to approach it like an engineering problem. Find the key issues and solve them with creative solutions. But the Middle East does not work like an engineering problem. When he tries to restart Israeli-Palestinian peace negotiations by offering massive infrastructure investment, both sides are skeptical. The issues are not really about money. They are about land, history, religion, identity, and justice. Technology cannot solve these problems. A crisis erupts when Iran moves closer to developing nuclear weapons. Intelligence reports say they might be only months away from a bomb. Israel wants America to support military action to stop them. President Musk is extremely reluctant. He does not want another Middle East war. American forces are still dealing with consequences of previous wars in the region. He tries a different approach. He offers Iran a deal. Give up nuclear weapons and America will lift all economic sanctions and help modernize Iran's economy. Iran can have peaceful nuclear power and join the global economy. But if they continue toward weapons, America will support Israel's right to defend itself and increase sanctions until Iran's economy collapses. Iran's leaders do not trust the offer. They have been betrayed by American promises before. Negotiations drag on for months. Tensions rise. At one point it seems like war is inevitable. But eventually a preliminary agreement is reached. Iran agrees to new inspections and limitations in exchange for partial sanctions relief. It is not a perfect solution, but it prevents immediate war. Critics say President Musk gave away too much. Supporters say he avoided a catastrophic conflict. Relations with Africa are surprisingly positive. African leaders appreciate that President Musk takes them seriously as economic partners, not just aid recipients. His focus on solar power and internet access aligns with what many African countries need. He proposes massive investments in African infrastructure and technology. Some African leaders are enthusiastic. They see opportunities for rapid development. Others are suspicious and worry about new forms of colonialism. They do not want American companies extracting resources and profits while Africans remain poor. President Musk insists the investments will be genuine partnerships. Time will tell if the promises are kept. India becomes one of America's strongest partners under President Musk. The Indian Prime Minister and President Musk have similar approaches. Both are focused on technology and economic growth. Both are nationalist but also pragmatic. They announce a major technology partnership with American and Indian companies working together on artificial intelligence, space exploration, and clean energy. This partnership has strategic importance. India and China are rivals. By strengthening ties with India, America gains a powerful partner to balance Chinese influence in Asia. China is not happy about this development. The competition between China and the India-America partnership becomes a defining feature of global politics. Latin America sees both opportunities and problems. President Musk's infrastructure investments create jobs in countries like Brazil, Colombia, and Chile. His focus on renewable energy helps countries with lots of sun and wind. But his immigration policies upset Central American countries. His demand that Mexico stop migrants from reaching the American border strains that relationship. There is an incident in Venezuela. The authoritarian government there collapses after economic crisis and protests. Refugees flee to neighboring countries. A humanitarian disaster unfolds. President Musk faces pressure to intervene, but he is reluctant to send American troops to another country. Instead, he organizes an international coalition to provide aid and help establish a democratic government. It is messy and imperfect, but it avoids American military occupation. The global economy goes through turbulence. President Musk's focus on reshoring manufacturing to America hurts countries that depend on exports. Vietnam, Bangladesh, and other countries that make products for American consumers see factories closing. Mexico benefits because it is close to America and part of North American integration. But Southeast Asia suffers. Stock markets around the world are volatile. Investors are not sure how to interpret President Musk's policies. Sometimes markets soar on optimism about innovation. Other times they crash on fears of instability. The dollar strengthens because people still see America as relatively safe despite the chaos. This makes American exports more expensive and hurts American manufacturers trying to sell overseas. Trade negotiations are constant. President Musk is renegotiating trade deals with dozens of countries. He wants better terms for America. He threatens tariffs to get leverage. Sometimes this works and other countries make concessions. Sometimes it backfires and leads to trade wars that hurt everyone. The European Union is frustrated with his transactional approach to trade. They want stable, long-term relationships based on shared values. He wants deals that benefit both sides economically, regardless of values. These different philosophies create constant friction. International institutions like the United Nations and World Trade Organization are struggling to adapt to President Musk. He questions their value and threatens to reduce American participation. This terrifies smaller countries that depend on these institutions to have a voice in global affairs. If America withdraws, China will fill the vacuum and shape the institutions to serve its interests. President Musk does not seem to care about this argument. He says these institutions are bureaucratic and ineffective. If they want American participation, they need to reform and actually accomplish things. This pragmatic but harsh approach makes many countries anxious. Climate negotiations reveal deep divisions. President Musk believes in addressing climate change through technology and innovation. Most other countries want binding international agreements with specific targets and enforcement mechanisms. They do not trust that technology alone will solve the problem fast enough. At the climate summit in Dubai, President Musk gives a speech that is both inspiring and infuriating. He says humanity will solve climate change by making clean energy cheaper than fossil fuels. He says government mandates and international agreements are less important than innovation. He announces that America will invest $100 billion in advanced nuclear power and solar technology over the next 5 years. Other countries can join the initiative or not. Their choice. Developing countries are angry. They say rich countries caused climate change and should pay for poor countries to adapt. President Musk responds that he is interested in solutions, not blame. He will help countries that want to build clean energy infrastructure. But he is not just handing out money without accountability. The global reaction to President Musk by the end of his first year is complicated. Some countries, especially those focused on technology and economics, see opportunities. India, Israel, Japan, and some Eastern European countries have positive relationships with the Musk administration. Other countries, especially those that value international institutions and multilateral cooperation, are deeply concerned. France, Germany, and many smaller countries worry that President Musk is destroying the global order that has maintained relative peace and prosperity since World War II. China and Russia are playing a careful game. They probe for weakness and test boundaries. But they also recognize that President Musk is unpredictable and might respond aggressively if pushed too far. The competition continues, but the rules are less clear. One thing is certain: American leadership looks completely different under President Musk. He does not try to build consensus. He does not work through traditional channels. He makes quick decisions and expects others to adapt. Sometimes this is effective. Sometimes it creates chaos. The world is learning to deal with an America that is still powerful, but no longer reliably predictable. Some countries are adjusting their strategies to work with this new reality. Others are trying to build alternative systems that do not depend on American leadership. Global power is shifting in subtle ways. No single dramatic event changes everything, but thousands of small decisions by President Musk and responses by other countries are gradually reshaping how the world works. Whether this new world will be more peaceful and prosperous or more dangerous and divided remains to be seen. What is clear is that the post-World War II international order is changing. President Elon Musk is not trying to maintain that order. He is building something new. The world is watching nervously to see what that something new will look like and whether it will be better or worse than what came before. Act 5: The Future and Legacy. 4 years pass quickly in the sweep of history. As President Musk's first term comes to an end, America and the world have changed in fundamental ways. Now it is time to look at what happened over those 4 years and what it means for the future. Let's start with the big picture. Did President Musk accomplish what he promised? The answer is complicated. Some promises became reality, others failed completely. Many fell somewhere in between. The infrastructure transformation is perhaps his biggest concrete achievement. By the end of his 4th year, 3 high-speed rail lines are operating. You can now travel from Los Angeles to San Francisco in 2 hours on a train that moves at 220 miles per hour. The Boston to Washington corridor has similar service. The Chicago to Denver line is still under construction, but scheduled to open next year. These rail lines are expensive. They cost taxpayers hundreds of billions of dollars. But they work. Millions of people use them. Air travel between these cities has dropped significantly. The trains are fast, comfortable, and powered by renewable energy. Even critics who opposed the projects admit they are impressive now that they exist. Airports have been modernized. The experience of flying is faster and more efficient. Facial recognition and AI security screening cut wait times dramatically. Not everyone likes the surveillance technology, but most people appreciate spending less time in lines. The tunnel systems under major cities are more mixed. Las Vegas has a functioning system that works well. Los Angeles has a partial system with several tunnels operational, but the project in New York was abandoned after engineering problems and cost overruns. The Miami tunnel had a major flood that killed 4 workers and led to investigations. The technology works in some places, but not everywhere. Energy transformation shows real results. Renewable energy now provides 42% of America's electricity, up from 28% when President Musk took office. 50 new nuclear power plants are either completed or under construction using modern, safer designs. The electrical grid has been upgraded to handle more renewable sources. Gas stations are closing as electric vehicles become dominant. Most new cars sold are electric. Charging stations are everywhere. Air quality in major cities has improved noticeably. Children have lower rates of asthma. The sky is clearer. But the transition hurt millions of workers. The oil and gas industry has shrunk by 30%. Over 500,000 workers lost their jobs. Retraining programs helped some, but not all. Towns in Texas, Oklahoma, and North Dakota that depended on oil are struggling. Some have become ghost towns. The human cost of the energy transition is real and painful. The Government Efficiency Initiative produced mixed results. President Musk's Department of Government Efficiency identified enormous waste and recommended thousands of changes. Some changes were implemented and actually work. Government websites are better. Some services are faster. Certain bureaucratic processes that took months now take weeks. But the effort also caused chaos. 14 federal agencies were eliminated or consolidated. Over 200,000 federal employees were laid off or forced to retire early. Some of these cuts made sense. Others removed important expertise that is now gone. There are ongoing problems with passport processing, veterans' benefits, and regulatory oversight because too many people were cut too quickly. The automation of government services using artificial intelligence is controversial. Many processes that used to require human judgment are now handled by algorithms. This is faster and cheaper, but AI makes mistakes. There are horror stories of people denied benefits they deserved or flagged as suspicious when they did nothing wrong. The appeals process to challenge AI decisions is overwhelmed. Education reform shows the clearest divide between winners and losers. Students in well-funded schools with good internet access are thriving with the new technology-enabled learning. Test scores are up. Kids are learning advanced subjects earlier. The adaptive AI tutoring helps students who struggled with traditional teaching. But students in poor rural areas and underfunded urban schools are falling further behind. The technology does not work well without infrastructure. Teachers in these schools are frustrated and overwhelmed. The gap between rich and poor students has grown wider, not narrower. This is the opposite of what education reform was supposed to achieve. The Mars program is President Musk's most ambitious and controversial project. He committed America to landing humans on Mars by 2035. Over his 4 years in office, the government poured $200 billion into this goal. NASA and SpaceX are working together. Several unmanned missions have been sent. Technology is being developed. The timeline might actually be possible. Supporters say this is inspiring and pushes technological boundaries in ways that benefit everyone. The space program created hundreds of thousands of high-tech jobs. Advances in rockets, life support, and energy systems have practical applications on Earth. Young people are excited about science again. Applications to engineering programs at universities are at record highs. Critics say $200 billion should have been spent on problems here on Earth. That money could have provided healthcare, fought poverty, fixed schools, or addressed climate change more aggressively. They say Mars is a vanity project for Musk's ego, while real people suffer. The debate is fierce and unresolved. Healthcare remains messy. President Musk never created a comprehensive healthcare plan. Instead, he made incremental changes using technology. Telemedicine is now common and helps millions access care. AI diagnostic tools work well for some conditions. Drug prices have dropped for some medications because of imports and government pressure. But America still does not have universal health care. Millions remain uninsured. Medical bankruptcy is still a leading cause of personal financial crisis. The fundamental problems with the healthcare system were not solved. Technology made things marginally better, but did not transform the system the way President Musk hoped. The economy overall is stronger by some measures and weaker by others. GDP growth averaged 3.1% per year during the Musk presidency, slightly better than the previous decade. Unemployment is at 4.8%, quite low. The stock market is up significantly, making wealthy people wealthier. But inflation averaged 5.4% per year, higher than historical norms. Wage growth for middle-class workers barely kept pace with inflation. Income inequality increased. The wealth gap between rich and poor Americans is now the widest in modern history. The economic boom is very uneven. Tech workers and investors did extremely well. Service workers and people in declining industries struggled. The national debt increased by $4 trillion during President Musk's 4 years. This troubles fiscal conservatives. The infrastructure spending, Mars program, and energy transition were expensive. President Musk cut some government spending, but increased other spending even more. Future generations will be paying for this. Social division is one of the most troubling aspects of the Musk presidency. America was already polarized before he took office. His presidency made it worse. People who love him really love him. People who hate him really hate him. There is almost no middle ground. His supporters see a president who kept promises, challenged the corrupt establishment, and made bold changes that politicians were too scared to attempt. They believe he made America innovative and future-focused again. They think he stands up for ordinary Americans against elites, even though he is a billionaire himself. This contradiction does not bother them because they judge him by his actions, not his wealth. His opponents see a dangerous authoritarian who concentrated too much power, ignored constitutional limits, and damaged democratic institutions. They think he governed like a CEO running a company, not a president serving citizens. They believe he helped his own businesses while in office and used the presidency for personal gain. They worry about the precedent he set for future presidents who might abuse power even more. The relationship between President Musk and the media never improved. He fought with journalists constantly. He called negative coverage fake news. He threatened media companies. He gave access only to friendly outlets. Press freedom advocates say he did lasting damage to journalism's role in democracy. But his supporters say the media was biased against him from the beginning and never gave him a fair chance. They point to coverage they see as unfair or exaggerated. They believe the traditional media is out of touch and deserves criticism. This breakdown in trust between the president and the press is damaging regardless of who is at fault. Citizens need reliable information to make democratic decisions. When everyone disputes what is true, democracy itself is weakened. International relationships are in flux. America is still the most powerful country, but its leadership style has changed permanently. Other countries can no longer count on America to maintain the old international order. They are adapting by building alternative systems and partnerships. The European Union is more unified and independent than before. They realized they cannot rely on America the way they used to. They increased defense spending and created new institutions that do not depend on American participation. This is what President Musk wanted. But it also means America has less influence in Europe. China is more assertive on the global stage. They filled some of the vacuum left by America's retreat from international institutions. They are leading in some technology areas now. The competition between America and China is more intense than ever. Some experts worry it could lead to conflict. The NATO alliance survived but is weaker and more transactional. It is now more of a traditional military alliance and less of a political partnership based on shared values. This makes it more fragile and less effective at preventing conflict. Climate change progress is faster than expected, but still not fast enough. The planet is still warming. Extreme weather is still increasing. But the rapid adoption of renewable energy and electric vehicles did slow the increase in emissions. Maybe President Musk's approach of using technology instead of international agreements was partially correct. Or maybe we needed both and only did one. The debate continues. As the election of 2032 approaches, President Musk faces a decision. Will he run for re-election? The Constitution allows 2 terms. He is exhausted after 4 years of intense work and constant battles. Running his companies while being president was harder than he expected. He is 61 years old and looks older. The stress has aged him. But he also has unfinished business. The Mars mission is not complete. Many of his programs need more time to work. He believes no other candidate will continue his vision. After months of consideration, he announces he will run for re-election. The campaign is different from his first run. He is no longer the exciting outsider. He is now the incumbent with a record to defend. He cannot promise change because he is the current president. He has to defend his decisions and their consequences. His approval rating is 41% at the start of the campaign. Not good for an incumbent, but he is a skilled campaigner and has loyal supporters. The opposition is divided between Democrats who moved even further left and moderate Democrats who think their party is too extreme. The Republican Party is in chaos, split between traditional conservatives and tech-focused libertarians. President Musk runs on a simple message. The job is not finished. Give him 4 more years to complete the transformation. He shows videos of high-speed trains and electric cars and solar farms. He talks about the Mars mission reaching its goal in his second term. He says America is becoming the innovative, future-focused country it should be. The election of 2032 is close. President Musk wins re-election with 49.2% of the popular vote in a 3-way race. He carries key swing states by narrow margins. His electoral college victory is more comfortable at 302 votes. America has chosen to continue the experiment. His second term begins with both hope and worry. Supporters believe the best is yet to come. Critics fear what he might do with 4 more years and without having to face voters again. The world watches to see what happens next. But regardless of whether he serves 1 term or 2, President Musk has already left a permanent mark on America and the world. He changed what people think is possible in politics. He showed that someone with no political experience can become president and implement dramatic changes. He demonstrated that technology can be applied to government. He proved that presidential power can be used more aggressively than people thought. These precedents will outlast his presidency. Future candidates will study what he did. Some will copy his tactics. Others will learn what not to do. American politics will never return to what it was before. The old rules and norms are gone. Something new has replaced them. History will spend decades debating President Musk's legacy. Some historians will call him a visionary who dragged America into the future when it was stuck in the past. They will credit him with accelerating technological progress, reforming stagnant institutions, and making government more efficient. They will say he took risks that needed to be taken. Other historians will call him a reckless disruptor who broke things that kept society functioning. They will blame him for increasing inequality, damaging democratic institutions, and undermining America's global leadership. They will say he prioritized innovation over people and created chaos without solving fundamental problems. The truth, as always, will be complicated. President Musk was neither a pure hero nor a pure villain. He was a flawed human being with enormous ambition and talent who gained tremendous power and used it to pursue his vision of the future. Some of what he did was genuinely beneficial. Some was genuinely harmful. Most was mixed and controversial. What is certain is that America and the world are different because Elon Musk became president. The changes cannot be undone. The future has been altered. Whether that future will be better or worse than the alternative, we will never know, because we cannot see the path not taken. The only certainty is that history will remember President Elon Musk as one of the most consequential and controversial leaders of the 21st century. His presidency will be studied, debated, and argued about for generations, and the questions he forced America to confront about technology, democracy, leadership, and the future will remain relevant long after he is gone. The experiment of President Elon Musk changed everything. Now we live with the results, whatever they may be. Final thoughts. It is now the year 2045. Elon Musk left office 13 years ago after serving 2 terms as President of the United States. He is 74 years old and has retired from public life. He spends his time at his ranch in Texas, occasionally giving interviews but mostly staying quiet. The man who once tweeted dozens of times per day now rarely appears on social media. America has moved on to other presidents and other crises, but the changes Musk set in motion continue to shape the country and the world. Let us look at what his presidency ultimately meant. The high-speed trains he built are now considered essential infrastructure. A new generation of Americans cannot imagine traveling between major cities any other way. The trains are faster than driving and often faster than flying when you account for airport time. They run on clean energy. They are profitable. More lines have been built connecting more cities. What seemed radical in 2029 is now normal in 2045. The energy transformation he started is nearly complete. America gets 85% of its electricity from renewable sources and nuclear power. The oil and gas industry still exists, but it is small. Gas stations are museums. Electric vehicles are so common that seeing an old gasoline car is unusual. The air is cleaner. Carbon emissions have dropped dramatically. The climate is still changing, but more slowly than scientists feared. The towns and workers who were hurt by this transition never fully recovered. Some areas reinvented themselves with new industries. Others became permanent economic disaster zones. The human cost was real. Whether the environmental benefit was worth that cost is still debated. The Mars mission succeeded. In 2034, American astronauts landed on Mars. The images of humans walking on another planet inspired the world. It was the greatest achievement of space exploration since the moon landing. President Musk, watching from the White House in his second term, cried when the astronauts planted the flag. It was his dream realized. The Mars base is now permanent, with 20 people living there. They conduct research and prepare for future colonization. Some people think this is humanity's greatest accomplishment. Others still think the money should have been spent on Earth. But it happened. Humans are now a multi-planetary species, just as Musk always said we should be. The technology-enabled government that Musk built has been refined and improved. Many services are now automated and efficient. But there are also new regulations to prevent AI mistakes and protect citizen rights. The harsh early days of automation have been softened with better oversight. The idea of using technology to make government better is now accepted, even if the implementation is still imperfect. Education has evolved beyond Musk's initial reforms. The digital divide that widened during his presidency was eventually addressed with massive investment in rural internet and school funding. Adaptive learning technology is now standard, but combined with human teachers in a balanced approach. Students learn faster and better than previous generations. The controversy has faded as the system matured. Healthcare remains America's biggest unfinished business. Musk's technological improvements helped, but did not solve the fundamental problem of access and cost. Millions still struggle to afford care. The system is still broken in many ways. This is perhaps Musk's biggest failure as president. He moved fast and broke things in other areas, but never found the solution to healthcare. The social division that worsened during his presidency has slowly healed. Not completely, but partially. Americans grew tired of fighting. New issues replaced the old battles. Young people who do not remember life before President Musk see his changes as normal, not revolutionary. Time has a way of making the radical seem ordinary. The precedent Musk set for presidential power is troubling. The presidents who came after him used the aggressive executive authority he normalized. Some used it well, others abused it. The balance of power between branches of government shifted permanently. Congress is weaker. The courts are overwhelmed trying to check presidential actions. This might be Musk's most dangerous legacy. His personal business empire grew even larger after he left office. This raises questions that have never been fully answered. Did he use the presidency to enrich himself? Did his policies favor his companies? Investigations found some conflicts of interest, but nothing criminal. The gray area between legal and ethical was never resolved. He left office much wealthier than he entered. Whether this is corruption or just capitalism is still debated. Internationally, the world order Musk disrupted never returned to its previous form. America is still powerful, but shares the stage more equally with China, India, and a unified Europe. The era of unchallenged American dominance ended during his presidency. Some see this as decline. Others see it as a more balanced and fair world. Climate change remains humanity's greatest challenge. The progress Musk accelerated helped, but was not enough. The planet is still warming. Island nations are flooding. Weather is more extreme. But the worst-case scenarios were avoided. Technology did help, even if it was not the complete solution. So what is the final verdict on President Elon Musk? History has not decided, and probably never fully will. He is a polarizing figure even in memory. Some people remember him as the president who saved America from stagnation and built the infrastructure for the future. Others remember him as the president who broke democratic norms and increased inequality. The truth contains both of these stories. He was a leader of contradictions. He built incredible things and broke important things. He helped some people and hurt others. He moved America forward in some ways and backward in others. He was brilliant and foolish, visionary and reckless, inspiring and dangerous. Perhaps the most important question is not whether his presidency was good or bad. Perhaps the question is what his presidency teaches us about leadership, democracy, and change. It teaches us that outsiders can shake up broken systems. Sometimes this is necessary. But it also teaches us that experience and wisdom matter. Moving fast and breaking things works for companies. For countries with millions of people, the breaking causes real human suffering. It teaches us that technology can solve many problems. But it also teaches us that not every problem is a technology problem. Some issues require empathy, compromise, and human judgment that no algorithm can provide. It teaches us that bold leadership can accomplish things cautious politicians cannot. But it also teaches us that democratic institutions and norms exist for good reasons. When leaders ignore them, they risk creating chaos or enabling future tyrants. It teaches us that America can change faster than we thought possible. But it also teaches us that not everyone can keep up with rapid change. Those left behind suffer and become angry. Their pain is real and cannot be ignored. Most importantly, it teaches us that there are no perfect leaders and no perfect solutions. Every choice has costs and benefits. Every decision helps some people and hurts others. Leadership is about making difficult trade-offs, not finding magical answers. As you finish this story and return to your own life, think about these questions. Would you have voted for Elon Musk? Do you think his presidency made America better or worse? If you could go back and change one thing he did, what would it be? What lessons from his presidency should future leaders learn? And here is the biggest question of all. In a democracy, citizens have to choose leaders even though we cannot predict the future. We have to decide who to trust with enormous power. How do we make that choice wisely? How do we balance the desire for change against the risk of chaos? How do we know when to trust an unconventional leader and when to stick with experience and stability? These questions have no easy answers, but they are the questions every voter must wrestle with in every election. The story of President Elon Musk is not just about one man or one presidency. It is about the eternal challenge of democratic leadership. Would the world be better if Elon Musk had become president? Or would it be worse? You have now explored both possibilities. You have seen the benefits and the costs. You have witnessed the triumphs and the failures. The answer depends on what you value most. Do you value innovation more than stability, progress more than tradition, efficiency more than process, individual genius more than collective wisdom, the future more than the present? Different people will answer differently. That is okay. That is democracy. We argue and debate and disagree. Then we vote. Then we live with the consequences. Then we vote again and try to do better. The story of what if Elon Musk became president is over. But the questions it raises will continue as long as democracy exists. Every election is a gamble on the future. Every leader is an experiment. Every vote is a hope that we chose wisely. Thank you for taking this journey through an alternate history that never happened, but might have. Thank you for thinking about these difficult questions that have no perfect answers. And thank you for caring enough about the future to imagine different possibilities. The power to shape the future belongs to all of us. Use it wisely.